You thought I was gonna be late? You thought I was gonna be late? Nope. Well, maybe uh 58 seconds late. Welcome everybody. All right. So, we were having some technical difficulties. I am going to share and bring our beautiful guest on. Yeah. And if anyone ever wants to jump on, jump on in. And we are going to get onto something really that's I got to say that's very bothersome, and because we just I honestly think that we're targeting the wrong ones. And when I mean we, I'm talking about the truther community, because right now we honestly think that the gatekeepers, in my opinion, are the villains, which are, the Israelites and all these other people. Little do we know, or little do we recognize, is that we're not really asking. Yeah, it's okay. We are just I gotta say, we're just we're not pointing at the right direction. We're looking at the blaming the gatekeepers. I know I just said that, and which is very bothersome. And we're just I honest to God think that it's not where it's not who we're thinking. The targets are not the UJs. They're not anything like that. They are the people who in the Vatican. And I'm like saying, well, Phoenix, how could you say such a thing? They're not being a no one targets them, so they should be at fault. Okay. So hold on. There hasn't been a war on them like a that uh or there hasn't been any severe discrimination against them. I mean, like, I'm not saying people haven't jumped off 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 the believings of Christianity or anything like that. That's exactly not what I'm talking about. I That's not what I'm talking about whatsoever. People have converted. I'm converted. I I I was baptized Lutheran, but still hold a lot of the teachings of Christ in my heart. However, the practices of the church and just the people, the Christian culture is very bothersome. And not only that, we we all know who funds arguably all of the wars and all of these other places that's bothering them. It The truthers want to say it's the UJs, or people want to say it's the Zionists. I beg to differ. I beg to honestly differ. I'm going to go on a limb and say who is funding this? Because you have to understand that I mean, like, they're hold on. It's like the OJs, they they're going through so much economic strife. They're going through so much economic strife, and yet they're the ones who hoard all the wealth. They might again, I'm guessing they are just accountants, if you know what I mean. They are the gatekeepers. But who is the ultimate bank? Who has all the money? Who is calling all the shots? Hmm? Yes, that's right. That is the Vatican, and we are going to talk about and just get down to it. So, all you stupid truthers, I mean, I gotta say, and I'm not saying all truthers are stupid. We're part of this community as well. So, not all you stupid truthers, but the stupid ones. Okay, the ones who say ignorant garbage, this anti-Semitic nonsense, saying that this is all Zionism, and all this. This is exactly the distraction on who of it's a distraction of who's ultimately running things. And believe it or not, it's the Jesuits. And because so we're gonna have Celeste on in a bit. I got word she is a little behind, but that's okay. And sure. This is on BitChute here.
I get so sick and tired of hearing these people, the anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist people, and whatever else, and they almost every case they don't talk about the Vatican. Everything in the world stupid to see that Jews are under the authority of the Vatican. Okay,
That is true because we have to understand. Well, I shouldn't say that is true, but that seems plausible because who's the biggest? Which I mean, like, I know the U.S. is the biggest distributor in of wealth. However, the oldest wealth, all the gold, all the properties, all the like raw wealth. Who do they not talk about? Hmm? Who do they not talk about? No one's bringing up the Vatican. The only time that it was brought up was when P47 said that he wanted to be Pope, which, let me tell you this, if he did, if he ever became Pope legitimately, he would be arguably the legit king of the world. Because the kings of the world, we have to understand that even in the, you have to understand that even in kingdoms, the king had the final say, right? The king had the final say, but who was taught, who was dictating all the legislation and all of this, who were the advisors who had the ultimate, did the king and all these other stuff, and this is going back to Roman stuff like that, and this is very much akin to like the constitutional republic that the United States has. Yeah, it's like, yes, we do have a president there, and back then they did have a king, and I'm talking about Rome. Rome had a king, but who was making the legislation? The king had no ultimate power, believe it or not, if you think about it. It was, they could only say yes or no to certain things in terms of legislation. We have to understand that is what the Senate was, and that is what basically the Vatican is as well. It's the Senate. It's the congressmen. The congressmen dictate what happens and what doesn't happen. We have to understand, people have to say, oh, well, the presidents are puppets, and they're this puppets, and this is the third, do. Well, that is because if you look at how a lot of this stuff is formed, that has a lot to do with the Senate and the House of Representatives, and in every freaking kingdom, in every freaking legislation, at least in a republic, a constitutional republic, which Rome was under, believe it or not, it wasn't the king that had the ultimate power. It was actually the Senate. It was the wise men, the bishops, the legislation, the law writers. These people.
Jews don't control the world.
No, they do not. They might have. They might be the accountants. But are they the bankers?
Okay, unless you have rocks for brains. The Jews are servants to the Vatican. That's what the Bible teaches. Mystery Babylon is a city that reigns over the kings of the earth. The Jews don't have a city. Okay, that's ridiculous. And you say, well, Jerusalem. Then why are they giving part of the Jerusalem over to the Vatican?
I had no idea that they actually were. This is scary, everyone. Hey, everybody, why are you not mentioning this? And trust me, I'm not anti-Christian. All right? I'm not anti-Christian. I'm not anti-Catholic. I'm not anti-whatever. I'm an omniist. I believe that there's truth in all spiritual and religious beliefs. However, we gotta call a spade a spade. We gotta call it for what it is. We all want to talk about, it's the Zionists who rule the world. Who has the ultimate say in everything that happens at the end of the day? It's the bishops.
But if you need proof, if you're falling for these lies, and here's your proof. This man right here, Gary Krupp, right there he is. This guy. He's working literally to bring about the Antichrist system. I will show you the proof in this video. Here he is. Gary Krupp, whatever, Jewish ally in debate over Pope Pius XII. Right there he is sitting beside Benedict. Okay? Cardinal Ratzinger, Joseph Ratzinger, now Pope Benedict. There he is shaking the hands of Benedict. Oh, the Jews rule everything. Stupid.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, again, they are the accountants. They're the representatives. But who has the money? Who has the moolah? the murderer, the coin. We all want to say that the Zionists have the coin. Okay, well then why do they tend to basically act all victimy, and they say they don't, or just like it's so freaking, there's so many layers. It's like, yes, even though they have the money, who distributes it? Who's the key distributor? Where is the bank account? Where is the money? Where is all the gold? Where's the mine? Hmm? You fucking, I swear to God, these fucking idiots who are blaming Zionists, especially Jimmy Dore and a lot of people in the truther community. I'm not going to name any names, and Celeste, and I'll be sure Celeste doesn't either. But we all know that there's a huge faction in the truther community who are really targeting the wrong ones, the wrong people. Why in every significant thing, besides you got some minor accident sort of thing, if you know what I mean, the some kind of like a Diddy scandal level stuff, some let's call it Lolita action. Why does that? We all know that we mock the Catholic Church for doing stuff like that. However, besides being mocked for that, why are they never targeted? I mean, yes, you're gonna have like a bunch of stupid idiots targeting. Oh, I don't believe in Christ, and Catholics, you do that to do that to kids, and they're this, that, and the third. But besides that dead joke that we all know, that like timeless joke, you never hear them being targeted when it comes to like any any I should say anything that has to do with wealth distribution, or anything that has to do with grandiose power, or anything like that, heavy influence. Why don't we hear it from the from uh from the Vatican? Why don't we hear it? Why don't we hear the but we know in our heart of hearts that all of that stuff, we all know in our heart of hearts that that's where all the money is. We all talk about what goes on and all the big bankers. Besides what goes on, like some Lolita level stuff, if you know what I'm saying. I gotta say,
There he is again, him and his wife, highly knighted, all these different knighthoods of the Vatican. And, you can go down through. Here he is with Pope John Paul II right there, and there's Gary Krupp again. I mean, there's so many pictures of the guy you can show, all these different things, him and his wife.
let me tell you this. We can blame all of this on Soros and Gates and all these billionaires all we want. However, again, who is ultimately pulling the strings? The tippy top here. The tippy freaking top. It's the freaking okay. Do you know what? It is the stupid fucking it's the stupid fucking Pope, all right? And why does P47 want to do that? I don't be Pope knowing that this goes on. God knows why he wants to do it. But he is a businessman, he is a banker, he too is a Christian. Is he gonna clean the Vatican like he cleaned Congress and he's cleaning the government? Dude, if he was able to do that, that would be freaking miraculous. That'd be fucking miraculous if he can actually do that. Because that is where all the wealth and the influence is. It's not in the United States. Is the United States the biggest, the wealthiest in terms of like distributed or accumulated? Yes, but who holds most of it? Who holds most of the solid assets, not the paper assets? The solid assets. I was about to say the Saudis, but because I'm like saying, well, you know, the Saudi princes and the Vatican, man. Those are the biggest hoarders of gold, the biggest hoarders of wealth. And let's see if Celesta can come in. If she's not on today, whatever.
Meeting with different Vatican officials and archbishops and whatever else. This guy sickens me. This guy's going to fry in hell. It's talk about, you know, backstabbing your own people. Pave the Way Foundation, right? Headed by Gary Krupp. And you can go down through here. You can read the whole thing here. It's an interreligious, you know, thing of is a non-sectarian organization whose mission is to identify and eliminate non-theological obstacles between religions, right? And they let's bring all religions together under the Vatican's authority.
So in order to be, yeah, that's basically what it is. The Vatican wants to control every fucking thing on the planet. They really do. This controlled opposition. Oh, our government's compromised, and this is that, the third. Well, yeah, that because the Vatican is compromising the planet. You want to know? You want to know why? I honestly think that they're trying to have like they don't want things to be challenged. This LGBTQ stuff. That's to sterilize the that's to sterilize people, sterilize the population. Yeah, I choose to be single. Meanwhile, you can't afford anything. But you don't, and it's why do I go on something like that? In your heart of hearts, you do want a partner, you do want a family, you do want all of this. The ones who are sterilizing the the world, and I would even argue the ones who funded and were the brains behind the coup was the Vatican. Did big pharma profit off of all of this? Yes. But at whose expense? Damn. These people are fucking insane. Fucking insane.
What they're doing. And basically, he's trying to create peace between the Jews and the Vatican. That's what the Antichrist does. And this guy's not the Antichrist. He's just a servant of the Antichrist. He's disgusting. But you get down through here. He's trying to, another thing he did, he wrote a book about Pope Pius XII. He wasn't really in league with the Nazis, and he wasn't really, persecuting the Jews. He was actually trying to help the Jews. And there's even Catholic priests that are coming out and saying, this isn't true. What are you doing? You're just lying. I mean, even Catholics are going against this guy, saying you're totally lying about him. But you get down through awards accepted by Gary Krupp on behalf of Pave the Way Foundation. Gets there's one from the Muslims right there. Jerusalem Medal for the Franciscan custody of the Holy Land. I thought the Jews ran things. What are the Catholics doing there in Jerusalem?
Let's not forget that the Abrahamic religion, or not the Abrahamic religion, the Muslim religion, what they practice of now is exactly what Christians practiced like thousands of years ago. And it's true. I mean, not even just thousands, even hundreds of years ago. The tar and feathering, the witch hunts, all that stuff. The KKK, democracy. That was all under like Christian orthodoxy.
Giving awards out. Huh? Yeah. Some of you neo-Nazi idiots out there, you're fascist neo-Nazi idiots. Everything's the Jews. Oh, it's the Jews.
Isn't it hilarious that believe it or not, that is the narrative now in the truther community? How it's the UJs doing all this. They hold all the power. They're the corrupt ones. I'm tired of this, that, third. Oh my God. Yeah, that is actually how Austrian painter, that a lot of this stuff was his rhetoric. Believe it or not. That's exactly what he did and what he said. Fucking gross.
You're stupid. It's a Catholic Church. Order of Knighthood, ordered by Pope John Paul II. Order of Knighthood by Pope Benedict XVI. But here's the big one down here. Knight of the Grand Cross and Dame of the Grand Cross of the Pontifical Equestrian Order of St. Gregory the Great, located in Jerusalem. Oh, he's a Jew and the Jews run the world. Yeah, okay. No, he's a papal knight. Here you have Pave the Way Foundation, their website. Our projects in the field of obstacles and controversy, working to introduce a balanced and mindful dialogue to impact the obstacles that obstruct peace and positive relations amongst religions. Yeah, okay. Improving Israeli-Christian relations. They mean Catholic relations. That's what the Antichrist is going to do. He confirms the covenant with many for a week. right? This guy's literally a servant of the Antichrist.
For someone who, for people who want to blame the OJs and all this stuff, how ironic where this is, these are the exact actions of Judah in the Bible. These are the exact actions of Judah, what the Catholic Church is doing.
So just wanted to make a real quick video about this because I get so sick and tired of the vile filth that comes from things. You know, here they are. This guy here's a Holocaust denying Catholic bishop, well known for his Holocaust denial. I've made videos about the guy, you know, and we'll defend him. Oh, he's not so bad and whatever. This guy here, this sick man right here, stabs his own people in the back. The Jews that were destroyed in the death camps and whatever else. Of course, if he was alive at the time, he wouldn't have been, because he was a rich Jew, a wealthy Jew, in bed with the Vatican, the Catholic Church. So they would have just kind of ferreted him off to America or whatever else. Like a lot of the high-level Masonic Jews, they only killed the low-level ones in the death camps. But I get so sick and tired of this stuff. So, you know, and I get it in the comments and things. I used to comment. You know, I comment on videos and things and check out the Jesuits, and I'll get people ready. It's not the Jesuits, it's the Jews. The Jews control the Jesuits. Yeah, okay, whatever.
No.
Lord help you if you're one of these papists that just blames the Jews for everything. You're stupid. You're willingly ignorant, especially after watching this video. Here's a high-level Jew, and he's in bed with the Vatican, defending Pope Pius XII. So that's going to be it for this video. If you're still deceived in it, well, then you don't have the Holy Spirit of truth. It's just that simple.
Ouch. That was freaking insane. So, jeez. Now, that's just to say, would I actually do when things when things clear up, I actually do want to. There she is.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
So what did you think?
Oh, about? Did I?
Oh, I just covered the. Yeah, I covered. I just covered the video.
The video?
Yeah, there. I was covering how I covered how the that one video I sent you, how regarding, you know, how the all powerful Jews are servants to the Vatican. So what are your
I mean, it's complex, you know, because it's you know, it's like, well, it's like, you know, I know we conversed about it before. It would be like me saying that every black person is like Diddy or something, you know.
No, I understand that. However,
yeah,
what puzzles me is that we do want to point. A lot of people do actually do want to. Don't. How should I say this? a lot of people, most people that I know of, do not point. They don't really point to the Vatican, in spite we know where a lot we know where a lot of the money and a lot of the influence is. Yet we want to say that it's the Jews. I did commentary earlier on the video, but we can watch this one more time. It's 6 minutes. I want to. We can run it through without my commentary, unless if you have something in it. So let's check this out again.
Okay.
Yeah, we covered this for the first like 20-30 minutes, but it's actually interesting because I mean, no one really talks about, people do, and I did say earlier that people do, there are the stereotypes of like of what the Diddy-esque or like Lolita-esque kind of actions going on down there, how everyone jokes about that,
right?
And a lot of people, you also know that there's that a lot of the power of the world, a lot of the wealth of the world, in spite of the United States being the most, the wealthiest, or like the highest wealth in terms of accumulated wealth, the biggest wealth distributor, in my it seems that's the Vatican, where like all the solid assets are them, and alongside with Saudi Arabia. But what I'm saying is that the Vatican, I always felt like it's the world's bank.
Yep. Oh yeah. That's where they store all the gold, or that they did. I mean, there's word has it, and again, I don't know how accurate it is, and I think even Jan Hopper Hayes has mentioned this, that the Vatican had a lot of our gold, and we brought it out of there, but I haven't heard anything about that since, so I don't know if that's accurate or not. So don't quote me on it. It's just something I heard through through her, and maybe there's something to be said about it. But yeah, I think yeah, I mean, but that is the, it's interesting. It kind of brings me back to when you did the Pope Trump as a pope, and how he did that meme of himself as a pope, signifying something, because it's the, I wonder if that was him hinting about this back then.
That could be too. And it's also how, if he becomes pope, he essentially rules the world, because we have to understand that back in the day, we want to say, oh, no kings this, no kings that. We need to understand that we are a constitutional republic here in the United States. And in spite of Julius Caesar, or just like any Caesar, whether if it was Julius or whatever king was there, the king had the final say, but he didn't have the final say on what happened. He didn't enforce the legislations.
Right.
That was the bishops.
Yeah.
Those were the priests.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people realize.
And so
stop and think about that. I mean, we knew it happened in the Middle Ages, and we knew the Romans were in charge even during the time of Christ, during, when he was alive. But And yes, we knew that there were factions of his own, you know, those that were, I don't know, the leaders of the government, even in Israel, or the sub-government, if you want to call it, you know, worked with the Romans and worked in cahoots. And I believe those people are, you know, nothing's changed since then. I think it's the same people, not exactly the same people, but the same bloodlines that have, you know, that had him crucified, that are still at it today.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just, you know, in the medieval times, it was known that the church was the ruling class and the ruling was the ruler. Now we don't call it the church, but they hide. They hide.
Oh, it is it, but it is the church. The
It is,
church
yeah, it
rule.
never left. Like, we're still under Rome as far as I'm concerned. We're still under, yeah, we're still under all that. Like, I don't, you know, whether you want to call it Rome or Britain, you know, I think they're all connected. And if you want to, you know, include the Zionists in there, and I'm not talking about Jewish people, because this is what bugs me about a lot of the truther community. Even, not only do I hear a lot of slander on the left, but I'm also witnessing it on those that consider themselves to be on the right as well. And there's a lot of crap on. We've talked about it before on Rumble, on BitChute, and for all we know, you know, we even have to look at stuff that we think might be right too, because we don't know, you know, none of us know. That's the thing. We're all trying to figure it out. And I know that we've all been lied to, you know, so I understand why people are questioning these things. And I'm not saying they're wrong for questioning these things, but sometimes we fail to understand that there's infiltrators on both sides, you
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
that absolutely mislead us. We think it's just only on the mainstream media, which it is, but it's also in alternative media, or at least it's made its way in there too.
Of course. I mean,
Keep people
and
divided, blaming each other. So, you know, keep people from coming together and saying, oh, you know, this group is a reason why we're in this mess. And it's that those people, and God, you know, the world needs to be rid of them, or the people in Israel are not the Jews in Israel are not the real Jews in the Bible. I've heard that so many times. That's like me saying that the Italian people today are not the same Italian people or Romans back then. And yes, a lot of things have changed. You know, obviously it's not exactly the same, because a lot, you know, there's wars and stuff, and there's colonization, and there's slavery, and there's all kinds of different stuff that happens. So of course they're not going to be exactly the same as they were 2,000 years ago. I mean, come on. But, you know, like I know I was watching something earlier today, because one of the things that I've been hearing are how the Jews today, especially Ashkenazi Jews, which are Northern Jews, they're mostly in Central Europe, Central Eastern Europe, that they inhabit. And there's a whole thing how they're not real Jews. They don't descend from, you know, that they're from this sub-Turkic group that converted to Judaism. And you know, and I you know, so that they're quote unquote fake Jews are not real Jews. They're and they're basically, they colonized a region, i.e. Israel, that it's not really their home. And you know, there's a time when I wondered about that. You know, I thought it's possible, because there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of crap that happened, let's face it. So
I
you
really
know,
don't know. Is is it
but the
it
thing is
I
that
what
they did oh, sorry.
I really actually want to know, and do you think it's possible that the Vatican is actually funding Palestine and preventing Jerusalem not to be seen as
possibly
as the Holy Land?
Nothing would shock me, honestly. I can't say I know that.
Right? Do you think that's Jesuitism?
Right, but
the Jesuits?
Nothing would shock me. And I'm gonna reverse this. I love the Italian people. Like, obviously,
yeah,
it's clear now. Like, Italian
me
people
too.
have nothing to do with the Vatican. Okay, just like the Jewish people have nothing to do with the Rothschilds. Okay, that's a separate thing, and please keep it that way when you speak about it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you kind of lop them together, and that's what really sets us off. Like, if you want to say, okay, there's this group that they do belong to this diaspora, or they say they do, and they do such and such and such, like, okay, I could be on board with that because it's true. I mean, if it's true, it's true. But when you start saying, like, oh, the people that they're Jewish converts, and they really colonize this, and they're not they're not connected to the people like the Hebrew people and the Bible and the ancient Israelites. That's like saying someone who is 50% Native American is not truly Native American because they're part European or African American. Okay. That's fucking ridiculous. And or someone who's a quarter, that they're not really connected. It's like, oh, well, you're very Europeanized, like you're, like, and they completely dismiss the Native American. It's like, okay, well, a quarter Native American is equivalent to a grandparent. It's like, okay, so you're saying that I have no connection with this person, or real connection, or that DNA, like, fuck you,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, but anyways, so there's a video where they did this test, and it's something I always downloaded, and I tried to express it, and no one takes me seriously. They just think I'm part of, that I'm just still asleep, and I'm just not really hip to what's real yet. And I get that sometimes.
You gotta love
I
the
just
gaslighting
because they're not worth my time. But I look at some of this stuff, and okay, they actually did multiple tests, many tests, to try to either prove or disprove it, and it's a real DNA test. And by the way, unlike what a lot of rumors are, DNA tests are not illegal in Israel. You could ask any Israeli that they're absolutely legal. It's just the only difference is they don't allow DNA tests that sell and your information to other corporations or whatever it is they do with them. That's what's illegal. But you can absolutely have a test. They do cost more. It is more there's more of a process to it, and it has to be done in a medical facility, but you could absolutely have it done. So that's a bunch of bullshit, another bullshit. So stop spreading that, because their whole point that they're trying to make is they don't allow them to do DNA tests because they'll find out that they're not really connected to that land, that they're not really native there. But okay, so they did the DNA test. There is some evidence, some very minor, very minimal, that yes, there are Khazarian people there. Some of them did convert to Judaism. But they're more related to a Turkic people, if I'm not mistaken, if I didn't mishear that. You could correct me if I'm wrong. But
Turkish, they're more like the Turks.
Yeah. So, and I would even say almost Mongoloid, because they did run an example.
Not Mongoloid.
Not Mongol or Mongolian, like
Mongolian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant. But so
yeah.
Sorry if I offend anyone, but
no, it's funny. That's funny.
But here's the thing. That okay, they ran a bunch of tests with Sephardic, with Ashkenazi and Mizrahi, and what they found was interesting. They found very, very little, very, very, very minimal evidence of the Khazarian genetics. It barely came up. It probably was, if it came up at all, it was like 5% or less than most of the people tested, but very few of them. It was actually pretty rare, much rarer than they anticipated it to be, because they expected it to be like, they expected to be like, okay, maybe this is right. They expected to be proven wrong, but what they found was it is true that they're not 100% Levantine, I guess it is. I guess there's different faction like Judeans, Levant, and those areas where the Israelites were. But they basically showed, because after the fall of Jerusalem or Israel, or they did migrate to other places, and a lot of them did go into Europe, and they went into the Mediterranean. For a lot of, those are so that's the Sephardic Jews. They're the southern Mediterranean Jews who were in the Iberian region, the Italy, parts of France, I think, and Portugal, places like that. So and also North Africa. So they largely did have those genetics, and the northern Jews, of course, the Ashkenazi, they were a mixture of that. And they all do have the Levant genetics, but of course, it's variable. There's variation in percentages, because it should be a no-brainer that if a people migrated to a certain region and settled for many, many, many generations, hundreds, if not thousands of years, there's going to be changes over time. Of course, they're not going to be exactly the original people. It's not going to be the same. And you can't expect that it would be at that point, because, people, obviously it started out with the Jewish slaves, and and I'm sure there's women that were raped, so there's that. But also there's intermarriages. There's people meet, they fall in love, and one converts, and they just become part of the family line, and that's what happened. So yes, they share both genetics. They share both the European, whether it's southern or northern or eastern, and the is what is known as Israeli, or Judean, or I think there's another name, but I can't think of it right now. I can't pronounce it, so I apologize for that. Again, I'm not an expert on the subject. I'm just doing my research like a lot of you, and I'm just trying to figure it out. Okay, so if I'm not a history professor, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a doctor, so I really want to make that clear. But I'm just a normal person that is curious and is trying to learn this stuff the way I can right now. Probably it'd be good for me to even study the Bible, possibly even read other stuff later, to get a wider understanding over time. But it is interesting. But I've heard a lot of stuff. There's I've heard a lot of conspiracy kind of stuff where the British are the true descendants of the Israelites, and I've even heard the Native Americans, and I'm not completely discrediting or discounting that. There's a lot of possibilities. There's a tribe in Africa, I believe, that are Judaic, and they practice Judaism, and they say they're Jews. They say they came from, they're a lot of their people migrated from Israel and settled to this part of Africa, and they're Black. But they, and I believe them, because I believe that probably did happen. Some of them did go to Africa. Some of them went to India. Some of them, some of them traveled south, northeast, and they did find Hebrew artifacts here and things in writing. So, it's possible they made their way here. In fact, the Cherokees, believe it or not, they've been interviewed about it, and they said a lot of their beliefs are the same. A lot of their practices and are very akin to each other. And so, and some believe that they're one of the lost tribes, and maybe they are. Who knows? I mean, I'm not gonna discredit that or discount that. It's all possible. I'm not opposed to that, and I do have an open mind. But and I know there's certain groups that really claim they are and really swear by it, based on what the Bible says here or there. And yes, there's multiple people throughout history that have been persecuted, so I could see why they identify with that. And it's not to say that they too aren't akin to that. However, they did, the shroud has been proven to be true. They did multiple tests on it, multiple DNA tests, and they did 3D imaging, computer imaging or re-imaging. And I'm sorry to say, but just from what has been shown, he looks like a Middle Eastern Semitic man, and if that, olive skin, brown hair, brown eyes, and if that upsets anyone,
Facts don't care about your feelings, you idiots. Follow the science. Facts don't care about your feelings, you idiots. Follow the science. The science shows this.
Right.
So you're all about evidence, and you're all about science. Well,
right. And
no, again, none of this stuff is lobbied. Okay, it's not. It was
I'm an outsider. I'm really just puzzled by everything I've been hearing and seeing. And I have a great grandparent who is, but I've never met him. Him and my great grandmother died when they were in their 30s. She actually died first after her giving birth to her second child in the hospital. She was not Jewish. In fact, she was from Nova Scotia, and her people, incidentally, were from southern France. And, she may have had other stuff in her too, but that was interesting. And there's, well, that's a whole other thing. And, my own genealogy is 13%, and if I was, and I don't have any on my dad's side at all, but so it's all from my mom. And 13% seems like a lot for only one great grandparent, because it would be like 12.5% or 12% would make more sense, unless she also carries something, some diaspora that came from those areas, and there's a lot of talk to be said about that. So, who knows, maybe, There's that speculation, but you know, if you're familiar with the Holy Grail and that whole line and that whole thing that happened in the south of France and the Black Madonna and stuff. So who knows? You know, I can't say that I have evidence of that, but you know, that's interesting. But yeah, she died in her mid-30s, and then they were both really in love. They were both disowned by their families because, you know, they married outside of their respective religions and cultures, but you know, love beats all, I guess, and which it did in their case. But unfortunately, they didn't make it in the end. And my grandfather and his brother were raised in an orphanage. So, and I didn't really know him all that well. I mean, he's a nice guy though. But that's another thing. But I don't know where I got off on that tangent. But so there's that. But the thing is that there's a lot we don't know. You know, people like to speculate, people like to guess, people like to, you know, say that, you know, claim this or that. And the reality is that none of us really know any of these things for sure. I think it's just fun sometimes to speculate a lot of different things, especially the most outrageous thing you can think of. It's just like, wow, that's like so wild. And, you know, I can understand where that could be attractive or intriguing. But, you know, it's okay to do that, but you know, you got to do things within reason too. You know, you got to stay grounded about stuff. Otherwise, you know, you start sounding like a crackpot, you know, to be honest. But there's a lot of things I believe in. I think Tartaria was real. You know, I think there's something to be said about that. I don't know a lot about it. I think it was actually more fourth dimensional. That's why it's really hard to find a lot of evidence. You know, maybe the buildings, some of those buildings from those times and some of the photos were evidence of some of that. But I think that was like, maybe it was higher level 3D, but mostly 4D. And maybe some of it was 5D, but I want to say 4D mostly. That's just my guess. You know, and I think that's where they resided, and that's why that's why it's hard to find evidence now, because it's, you know, and maybe there is a parallel reality where that still exists. Who knows? You know, maybe we just kind of got clunked down from that. But
what?
Anyways,
well,
you could. Sorry, I've just been.
No, it's interesting. But
explore and add to it if you like, or just whatever.
I don't know what to add, to be honest. That was very. Okay. That was fine. I said I did this, you know, for the first 30 minutes of the show, but we'll rewatch this, and I want your input on this. So it'll be a quicker. It's 6 minutes.
Okay. Hold on one second. I think someone needs to go outside. Okay. Oh, you probably so. Oh my.
Somewhere else, and they almost every case they.
This person's probably here. Well, this person too, but
yeah.
All right. He's happy.
So I'll start it one more time.
Okay. I'm going to show you some proof in this video today that Jews, any kind of a powerful Jew, is a servant of the Vatican. I get so sick and tired of hearing these people, the anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist people and whatever else, and they almost every case they don't talk about the Vatican.
Looking at
Everything in the world that's wrong is the fault of the Jewish people, but they never. They're too.
I said, looking at you, Jimmy Dore, because he is gung ho on fucking on the Zionists.
Yeah, well, you know, there is a reality, but I think it's kind of like Roseanne said, they invert it, just like a lot of people invert Christianity and sacred things in there. And
stupid.
Too. Yeah.
To see that Jews are under the authority of the Vatican. Okay, the Jews don't control the world. Okay, unless you have rocks for brains. The Jews are servants to the Vatican. That's what the Bible teaches. Mystery Babylon is a city that reigns over the kings of the earth. The Jews don't have a city. Okay, that's ridiculous. And you say, well, Jerusalem. Then why are they giving part of the Jerusalem over to the Vatican? But if you need proof, if you're falling for these lies, and here's your proof. This man right here, Gary Krupp, right there he is. This guy. He's working literally to bring about the Antichrist system. I will show you the proof in this video. Here he is. Gary Krupp, whatever, Jewish ally in debate over Pope Pius XII. Right there he is sitting beside Benedict. Okay. Cardinal Ratzinger, Joseph Ratzinger, now Pope Benedict. There he is shaking the hands of Benedict. Oh, the Jews rule everything. Stupid. There he is again. Him and his wife. Highly knighted, all these different knighthoods of the Vatican. And, you know, you can go down through. Here he is with Pope John Paul II right there. And there's Gary Krupp again. I mean, there's so many pictures of the guy you can show, all these different things, you know, him and his wife meeting with different Vatican officials and archbishops and whatever else. This guy sickens me. This guy's going to fry in hell. It's talk about, you know, backstabbing your own people. Pave the Way Foundation, right? Headed by Gary Krupp. And you can get down through here. You can read the whole thing here. It's an interreligious, you know, thing of is a non-sectarian organization whose mission is to identify and eliminate non-theological obstacles between religions. All right, and they let's bring all religions together under the Vatican's authority. That's what they're doing, and basically he's trying to create peace between the Jews and the Vatican. That's what the Antichrist does, and this guy's not the Antichrist. He's just a servant of the Antichrist. He's disgusting. But you get down through here. He's trying to, another thing he did, he wrote a book about Pope Pius XII. He wasn't really in league with the Nazis, and he wasn't really, you know, persecuting the Jews. He was actually trying to help the Jews. And there's even Catholic priests that are coming out and saying, this isn't true. What are you doing? You're just lying. I mean, even Catholics are going against this guy, saying you're totally lying about him. But you get down through awards accepted by Gary Krupp on behalf of Pave the Way Foundation. You know, gets there's one from the Muslims right there. Jerusalem Medal for the Franciscan custody of the Holy Land. I thought the Jews ran things. What are the Catholics doing there in Jerusalem? Giving awards out. Huh, yeah. Some of you neo-Nazi idiots out there, you're fascist neo-Nazi idiots. Everything's the Jews. Oh, it's the Jews. You're stupid. It's a Catholic Church. Order of Knighthood. Awarded by Pope John Paul II. You know, Order of Knighthood by Pope Benedict XVI. But here's the big one down here. Knight of the Grand Cross and Dame of the Grand Cross of the Pontifical Equestrian Order of St. Gregory the Great, located in Jerusalem. Oh, he's a Jew.
How is that a Christian organization being allowed within Jerusalem?
The Jews run the world. Yeah. Okay.
Weird.
No, he's a papal knight.
Never knew that.
Here you have Pave the Way Foundation, their website. are projects in the field of obstacles and controversy, working to introduce a balanced and mindful dialogue to impact
After
the
this
obstacles,
one, there's
construct peace and
also
positive
another
relations amongst religions. Yeah, okay.
that was
Improving Israeli-Christian relations. They mean Catholic relations. That's what the Antichrist is going to do. He confirms the covenant with many for a week. Right? This guy's literally a servant of the Antichrist. So just wanted to make a real quick video about this because I get so sick and tired of the vile filth that comes from things. You know, here they are. This guy here's a Holocaust denying Catholic bishop, well known for his Holocaust denial. I've made videos about the guy, you know, and we'll defend him. Oh, he's not so bad and whatever. This guy here, this sick man right here, stabs his own people in the back. The Jews that were destroyed in the death camps and whatever else. Of course, if he was alive at the time, he wouldn't have been because he was a rich Jew, a wealthy Jew, in bed with the Vatican, the Catholic Church. So they would have just kind of ferreted him off to America or whatever else. Like a lot of the high-level Masonic Jews, they only killed the low-level ones in the death camps. But I get so sick and tired of this stuff. So, you know, and I get it in the comments and things. I used to comment. You know, I comment on videos and things and check out the Jesuits, and I'll get people ready. It's not the Jesuits, it's the Jews. The Jews control the Jesuits. Yeah, okay, whatever. No, Lord help you. If you're one of these papists that just blames the Jews for everything, you're stupid. You're willingly ignorant, especially after watching this video. Here's a high-level Jew, and he's in bed with the Vatican, defending Pope Pius XII. So that's going to be it for this video. You're still
He didn't say much. I know I covered this earlier, but he didn't say much. But I think this should give us a little bit more insight.
Okay.
Yeah. What does and we're gonna be doing this live in one. Yeah.
This is Gerald Posner. This is History in 5. Today I'm going to tell you 5 interesting things about money and power at the Vatican revolving around corruption, murder, scandal, and intrigue. For about 1800 years, the popes were not just the head of the Catholic Church, the spiritual head of the world's largest religion. They were also kings, pope kings. They had a secular empire. Thousands of square miles of lands, their own armies. They built up a vast court around the Pope. How did they get the money for this? They fueled it by taxing people inside their empire, by fees, and also by selling something called indulgences. A piece of paper was sold to a Catholic and said, "You're forgiven for your sins for buying that paper." Still, it wasn't enough money, and the popes had to go at times to borrow money from the Rothschilds, the preeminent banking family in all of Europe who was Jewish, much to the distaste of many Catholic cardinals who thought it was terrible to have to borrow money from the people they viewed as killers of Christ.
That is where I'm talking about, and that's what I said earlier. The Jews, at least what they were talking, the Zionists are not the bank. They're the gatekeepers. They're the bankers. But it's like, who owns the bank? Who is the one with the money? Not who's doing the transitional and holdings, transactional and the holdings of all this. Who owns the wealth? And a lot of people are not going to admit that it's not the UJs, that it's not the Zionists as much as these people want to.
They're Nazis.
Yeah.
All of this ended in 1870 when the popes lost their empire. Italian nationalists trying to unify Italy took over. They kicked the king, and they took over the pope's lands. They left the pope with a small postage-stamped size parcel of land, the Vatican, and then all of a sudden in 1929 it changed because the Pope struck a deal with the head of Italy, then a fascist dictator, Benito Mussolini, The fascists recognized the Vatican as an independent sovereign country. They made the Pope the head of that country, invested with divine rights. 4 years later,
the Pope is the king of the country, of the
Mhm.
Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that same Pope struck a...
I was going to make a comment that you notice that there is one place in the world, you know, and the Vatican is located in Rome, but it's not considered a part of Italy. It's its own state and its own country, even though it's very small.
It's a city state, basically.
Yeah. So, but that is, no one fucks with them. Like, even like you could go look back and review all the wars in history. No one fucks with the Vatican. No one bombs the Vatican.
Yeah.
No
that's
one,
where I'm going.
Switzerland too, and you know, obviously that's another hold, you know, deep state hold, you know, and Klaus Schwab is Swiss. But yeah, nobody fucks with them. No, there are no attacks on them. There could be attacks around other parts of Italy, yes, absolutely. But, and there have been, obviously, but nobody fucks with the Vatican. And they are so armed. They are so protected. Probably the most protected place on the planet.
When was the last time you even heard a bomb threat done to the Vatican?
Never.
Like who the fuck ever threatens the Vatican?
Right.
Oh, it's the holy place, and it's like, what about Jerusalem?
Mm-hmm.
How many holy places have been attacked?
Yeah.
No. What holy area doesn't get attacked? It's the Vatican. The Vatican never gets attacked.
Mm-mm. No one touches the Vatican, and there's a reason. There's got to be a reason for that.
A deal with Nazi Germany and Hitler's Third Reich, and they signed a deal where the Third Reich recognized the church as the church recognized Hitler and his power inside of Germany. In the middle of the war, the Americans and the British are trying to stop anybody trading with the enemy. So they are blacklisting companies and countries, including some countries that call themselves neutrals, like Switzerland, San Marino, Monaco. The Vatican says we're neutral. Once the bank is formed, the Vatican is able to do business throughout the war, continue to do it with Nazi Germany, with blacklisted companies. After the war, what happens?
That's right. The Italians were so the part of the Socialist Party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That Vatican Bank funds, with British and American intelligence, some Nazis to escape to South America who were wanted as war criminals. The bank, the Vatican, and intelligence agencies have become partners by the end of the war. Bishop Marcinkus gets involved with prominent Italian businessmen, including Nicola Sandona, one of the titans of industry in Italy in the 1960s and 70s, and also Roberto Calvi, a major banker. They end up in all types of offshore deals and back-to-back loans and quadulent, fraudulent transactions that bring down the business empires of those two men and put the Vatican Bank at the edge of bankruptcy. And Marcinkus ends up staying inside the Vatican, claiming that the jurisdiction and sovereignty of the Vatican as a separate nation keeps him from going to trial for fraud in Italy. And eventually that standoff leads to his resignation. He leaves the country without ever serving a day in prison. An Italian journalist exposed the extent to which the Vatican Bank had still stayed a corrupt institution through the 1990s into the 2000s. Enter Pope Francis. He comes in 2013 with high expectations. He fired many of those laymen who worked inside the bank who weren't doing anything to make it transparent. He's adopted rules which suddenly changed the bank to become part of the international community. The wild and crazy days of murders and double dealing and fraud may well be, hopefully, a thing of the past.
I gotta check out that book.
Mm-hmm.
But
Interesting.
but you fucking idiots in the goddamn truther community who are bashing the Jews and Jewish people about this, about
Partially right where some things are concerned, but they also got a lot of things wrong, and they're misinformed on.
and that's what I'm saying, is that here in this on this channel, we're here to say, you know, you need to start looking are you not permitted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can talk about, oh well, you get ostracized and penalized if you speak against the Zionists. Maybe, but who are you not allowed to even mention? Who are you not allowed to even mention? It's these motherfuckers.
But it's also like Muslims, you know, they like you're not allowed to criticize you know, certain religions, and I'm not criticizing them. I mean, I know people that are
Oh, you
Muslim and
can
beautiful people, so I'm not, you know, but yeah, that's another group that you can't say anything bad about. Is certainly not if you're in England. I mean, you'll go to jail. Yeah, I mean, look what happened to Tommy Robinson. You know, prime example.
Yeah, but I gotta say, it's these but something tells me, do you honestly think, and leave in the comment section if you end up, if anyone ends up watching this, which if you aren't, what the hell is wrong with you? You should be watching this.
Oh.
I mean, because
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's but I mean, like it's like you, yeah, lost my train of thought again.
Okay, it's all good. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, I was going to say, Islam, it is an Abrahamic religion, as is the Jewish religion as well. But what I'm saying is that if you see a lot of the stuff that that a lot of and I'm not anti-Israel or not Israel, but Islam. I'm not against the Islamic religion or anything like that. However, it is very reminiscent, very, very reminiscent of Christianity, like Old Testament Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
They believe a lot of the same things. Yet, yes, it was founded by a warlord, but if you look at the practices, Old Testament, the Old Testament is very akin to, seems to be akin to the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the youngest religion in existence.
Yeah. Well, out of the Abrahamic religions, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you honestly think that Christianity is trying to make a comeback via Islam, and it's cut the old, like Old Testament Christianity is trying to make a comeback, and it's all founded and ran and not funded, but like enforced by the Vatican.
You know, nothing would shock me. In fact, I remember talking with this one woman years ago. It was on It was through private DM on Facebook. And I remember saying something to her, you know, I was careful in my speech, and she said, well, just so you know, the Catholics created Islam. Those were her words, and I don't know how she knew that, and I thought that was kind of weird, but you know, I'm just like, you know, I guess nothing would shock me. And you know, meaning that, you know, you know, kind of like you're blaming this group of people, but you know what, it has its roots here. Did you know that? And I'm like, wow, I guess I didn't. But yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So nothing would shock me. No.
Wow. Wow. Anyways, that should be about it for today.
Yeah, no, Jaden or Jay and his girl just came in the door, so I'm gonna say hi to them. But I tested myself. I went down the steps today.
Nice.
Or I tested. Yeah, I went really slow, you know, because I can't overdo it right now. I don't think I'm ready to go back to work just yet, but soon I'll be back. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's but I'm healing. I am getting better, so I'm really happy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that things are getting better.
Thank you.
Anyways, we'll see you Monday, everybody. And yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you're awesome. And I hope you have a beautiful weekend and enjoy the solstice. It's a solstice weekend.
Yes, it is.
And enjoying ourselves. Catch some rays.
All right.
Be well.
See you.